What's the importance of history?
I think the importance of history, Kaylee, is that you learn about yourself.
I'm delighted that Miriam Margolyes who's got a ridiculous schedule at the moment, and has made time especially to come in today to support this project because she believes so passionately in what we're trying to do. And it's basically, in a nutshell, it's a who do you think you are for kids with a twist, where they do research into their family trees and into their cultural backgrounds, and then we will guide them in how to do that and get further with those stories, and then make them into small films which they will share with other schools in the project.
What inspired you with this whole project?
I was directing a film script where a young boy discovers a piece of history that he didn't know about, which is that the first person to the North Pole in 1908 was Matthew Henson, who was black, and this was a young black boy who thought that black people were just sort of football stars and music stars, and he couldn't believe that a black person had been to the North Pole in 1908 and was the first person. Why didn't he know that information? So he takes the clipping off the wall and decides to go home and research it, and gets so inspired by what he finds, he starts to research more and more things from history, and then he decides that wouldn't it be great if we could do this, if he could do this and put it onto a website where he could share what he's found with other kids from all different backgrounds. So we then decided that wouldn't it be great if we could do this across the country with kids from every school, where they get to go into their country of origin. So you might be British, but your country of origin could be from Afghanistan, it could be from Nigeria, it could be from Spain, and find out what are their cultural traditions, what are the differences in these other countries, so we can actually break down the barriers between cultures, between people, so we actually get to know what's it like to be Polish, what's it like to be Eastern European, do they like ice cream and custard, or what do they eat, and what do they think. And so, for example, in Latin America, they have a tradition called Day of the Dead, which I hadn't heard of until about 5 years ago, where anybody close to you that's passed away, once a year you celebrate them by putting out their favourite food, their favourite clothes, whatever. And I was saying to someone, I lost a friend, a 15-year-old boy in Lincoln to cancer recently, Zach Hagen, who was only 15. And I was talking to his mother, who's from South America, and I was telling her about it, and she said, yes, I know all about that, and it's a real comfort to us because that person's never dead. If you're celebrating them every year, then they never die.
It's like a birthday again.
It's like a birthday again. So I thought, well, that's one cultural tradition from one country. What other things do other countries have that maybe in Britain we could borrow from or learn from? So that's part of what we want the children doing it to discover as well. So we said, how many kids do we do this with? And we said, well, let's start at 8 years old and go up to 18.
So my role in a project like this is to make things available for people who want to do research, because it's quite confusing when you start. You don't know where to look. But when you've been working in this job for as long as I have, you know the various places for people to look where they can find the information they're looking for. So it might be records of births, marriages and deaths, it might be wills, it might be old census records. They can find out the house that their ancestors lived in and all the names of their children and when they were born and what jobs they did and all sorts of things like that.
Have you ever found anything about your family?
Oh yes, I didn't do it for ages because I was so busy doing it for other people that I didn't have time to do my own. But more recently I have started looking. I've had all sorts of things, and all that. The thing about old photographs is very, very important, because once the older people in the family have died, then no one will remember who these people are. In our family, we've got a lovely Victorian photograph album, but we don't know who the people are except they were somehow relatives. So I made my mother, when she was still alive, I asked her to write lots of names on the backs of photographs so that I know who these people that she played with when she was a little girl, who they were and what their names were. So it's very important to do that. It's not a difficult thing to do, but if people just forget to do it, then that information is lost forever.
If your family, for example, was very, very poor a few hundred years ago, how did they manage not to be poor as the years went by? How did they develop? So you learn about yourself, and I think we should all know who we are.
What's your role in the project?
I suppose I've just been wheeled in as somebody who really enjoys genealogy, so that when I talk to people I can explain to them why it excites me so much, why I get such a thrill when I find another relative. And it's like being a detective in history, and they need somebody perhaps who's a little bit famous to come and interest people, because anybody in the street says, well, I like it, I like doing genealogy, nobody's very interested. But if it's someone they recognise, then I can be useful in drawing attention to the project. And I think it's a really good project because kids need to know about other things. You know, you want to broaden your knowledge. And my passion is to do exactly that. So I'm hoping that my passion will bring your passion to the fore as well.
So I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to start my family tree and go on the same journey and see what happens, see what we find out.